Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I know you're probably tired of hearing me say this, but it's me again, your favorite apostle, your host of Greater Works. Oh, wait. I'm the lead apostle of Greater Works Christian Church. I'm the host of Table Flippers Podcast, which is an outreach of Greater Works Christian Church right here in beautiful Lancaster, California. There's a couple things I want to talk about. Actually, one thing, but there's two parts of this I want to talk to you about. But, you know, it's really interesting, some things that's happened with out here in Lancaster with my wife and I. You know, good things in this sense. We have been very, very, very busy. You know, I know every time, or not every time, but many of my podcasts I start out with, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we've been so extremely busy that I don't have time to sit down in front of the camera or in the sense of microphone and do a podcast, which I apologize, but please be patient with me because, you know, there's some really great things. God is doing some spectacular things in the earth. I know there's a lot of people, including Christians, that don't agree, but I'm telling you, you know, a lot of Christians are just looking at some of the problems going on in the world, especially in the Middle East, going, see, it's all over. We're about to check out. It's the end. Antichrist is coming to eat our lunch. Jesus, just come back and get us. I don't have that mindset. What I am seeing, what I am sensing, and what I am watching, and what I'm reading from God's holy word, see this big old Bible? God's holy word is there's something profound that God is setting up in the nations, and he's going to have, you know, if this really is the end, it's going to be a glorious end. It's going to be a fireworks, and not us just getting out of here just in the nick of time before it all goes to hell in a handbasket. I'm talking about the restoration of all things according to Acts chapter 3. Now, if you're not a Christian, you don't know the Word of God, you don't know, just find a Bible. You can even get them online. You can find it online. Just go, you know, type Bible online and go to Acts chapter 3 and start reading like verse 19 to verse 21. And that should be the foundation of all end time doctrine, if you will. And it says clearly that heaven must receive Jesus until the times of the restoration of all things. So what is God doing right now? You know, it's not about death and destruction as much as it is about, if you will, clearing the field so that the restoration of all things can take place, not just in the United States, ladies and gentlemen, but throughout the globe, especially with Israel. Israel is still key to biblical understanding, biblical doctrine, end time theology, and Israel is extremely important to God. So if Israel is not important to you, I'm sorry, you don't have a God mindset. Okay, it's that simple. So anyways, a lot of great things happening for my wife and I. We have been at different meetings, meeting with different people, special invites by what I would say are very influential people. We had dinner the other night with some friends that, again, they're friends. They're friends of ours, but they're people that are really breaking out and going to do some things. Okay, really powerful things. We also have dinner and we meet regularly with people that are what I would call movers and shakers in the political arena, especially, but also the financial business arena. And many of the people that we are connecting with are movers and shakers even in the church world. And you know, it's funny, because of my stance politically, because of my stance on morality and these types of things, I am not always very liked among my peers, other preachers, church leaders. They don't like me for a lot of reasons. Now, my opinion, this is my opinion, I'm just going to give you my opinion, is because I honestly, I don't like to waver on things. When I know something is right, I don't want to bend. I don't want to compromise, you know, and I'll give you an example. When the government was telling us, church leaders and Christians, that we have to close up our churches for COVID, I said no. I wasn't going to do that. And I encouraged my peers in our area to not close down either. And knowing there's strength in numbers, so that if the majority of the churches in our area or any given area would have stood strong together, maybe this wouldn't have been pushed so far as it was. And many people are still suffering financially and business-wise and even spiritually. Because why? Churches shut down, and that should have been the strength and backbone of the community, or is the strength and backbone of the community. So when the backbone of the community is weak and shut down, what is that going to do to the mom and pop store? What is that going to do to schools? What is that going to do to every decent segment of society? But remember, liquor stores and strip clubs were open, but churches were closed. So even though maybe the powers that be allowed strip clubs to be open, let's face it, those strip club owners, the people that work there, they had more courage to be in that setting. Okay, do you think they were 6 feet apart? Nah. Do you think everybody wore masks? Nah. No. So they had more courage than our pastors and our leaders who shut their doors. And let's face it, just be honest. It wasn't about, they told me this. Well, we're just doing it because we have to be obedient to the government. Well, the Bible is very clear on that. You're obedient to the government. You follow the rules, you follow the laws until the rules and the laws they pass violate God's rules and God's laws. And that was certainly a violation of God's rules and God's laws, especially when he said, do not forsake the assembly of yourselves together. Well, then we need to come together in an assembly. That's called a church service on Sunday. And when the government, the carnal flesh government says, you can't do that. Well, God's law is higher than theirs. We go, no, we're still going to meet. That's what was my take on. We're still going to meet. And it was a foolish law, if you will. Why? Strip clubs were open. Liquor stores were open. But my church couldn't be? No, I'm sorry. I'm still going to meet. And so anyways, a lot of the pastors in my area, most all of them, not all, but most all of them closed their doors and told me, had some nice descriptive phrases for me. I was going to kill people. All I wanted to do is see people dead. I'm rebellious. And I'm like, of course I'm rebellious. I'm rebellious against an overreaching government. But I'm secure in my relationship with God because I would not compromise my relationship with God. See, they compromised their relationship with God to be at peace with man. I compromised peace with man so that I would have a solid relationship with God. So that's my opinion as to why a lot of the my peers, pastors, church leaders, and such, don't really care for me too much. And it's frustrating on one hand, but also at the other hand, I can't fake it. I won't fake it. So I'm not going to have a relationship with these pastors that are still, in my opinion, weak. And everything that we know and everything that's come out and everything that's been talked about and everything that we've learned, not one of those pastors have come back and apologized. So anyways, it's just kind of an interesting thing that God has positioned me and my wife, not with what I keep calling peers, church leaders, but with community leaders, business leaders, entertainment leaders, political leaders. And I'm not just like a little door that we've had to kick in to get into those places. They're coming to find us. And what a beautiful thing, because now I'm among a group of people that are really, truly the movers and shakers of our culture and society. And God is putting me in there so I can be a voice of righteousness and reason to those who basically shape the world around us. So at any rate, so a lot of good things happening, a lot of great things happening. I'm serious. If all you can see is death and destruction, doom and gloom, you're not looking in the right places. Turn off CNN. turn off MSNBC, and really honestly take a real good look at what's happening in the world. I want to talk to you about Iran just a little bit, but let's talk about Iran. Before I get into, see, I have some article that I want to read. So before I read this, Iran, it's an interesting thing. See, a lot of people write Iran off as just a Muslim nation, and it's really strange, the different viewpoints on Iran coming from different places, including the church. So I'm going to speak to you a little bit, truth, but I want to speak to you as if I'm speaking to a room full of Christians or Christian leaders, church leaders. If you're not one, please don't tune out, because you're going to be taken into the world of Rob for just a moment. So the interesting thing about Iran was that the people converting and becoming born-again Christians in Iran, the last poll or the last study that I watched was just maybe 2 years ago, that if present trends continued, Iran was going to be a majority Christian nation in about 20 years. A majority Christian nation. Already in Iran, there's a lot of born-again believers there in Iran. There's Orthodox Christians there in Iran. And so there's a pretty large Christian base in Iran that was kind of underground, in the sense, that's what we call it. They didn't really meet underground, but they didn't have church buildings. They couldn't live their Christianity out loud in the streets and things like that, for obvious reasons. The regime over there mowed down between 30 and 40,000 of its own citizens just prior to the bombing that the United States had started and Israel started. Upwards of 40, I think the last count I heard was 42,000. Now, some Iranians in Iran had claimed it's actually closer to 100,000. So we know this. At least, bare minimum, and this is the lowest number I've heard, 30,000. Most are agreeing now it's 40 to 42,000. Some in Iran are saying upwards of 100,000. So my point is, no matter what number you want to grab onto, it's disgusting. So Iran, the regime, not the civilians, the citizens, killed at least 30,000 civilians just because they were out protesting and saying, we want freedom. So, but again, if Iran stayed on that same trajectory, there'll be a Christian nation, majority nation, in less than 20 years, about 20 years. So here's what's happening now with the regime being bombed to smithereens. The leaders that were killing the people, pushing that Muslim Islamic nonsense on the people, forcing it on the people, well, they're primarily gone. I know there's some trying to rise up and take their place, but they're primarily gone. So the citizens are now tasting freedom for the first time since, when did the regime come in place? 1978, 79, somewhere in there. So since the late 70s, they have not had freedom, especially religious freedom. You're free to be a Muslim. What if I don't want to be? Oh, you die. Okay, that's basically what it came down to. So the Iranian people are loving this because they're finally tasting freedom. They see light at the end of the tunnel. Yes, the bombing campaign and the technically the war, even though just recently President Trump had, I don't know if he made an official statement, but had said or mentioned that the war is over. And many are saying, well, the war is over. Trump said the war is over. Maybe in a sense, but let's face it, it's not completely over until the people are completely free. And that regime is either, they're wicked people. So they either need to be behind bars or pushing up daisies. So again, Iran is now, because of the freedom that they're going to take, you watch. What would have normally taken 20 more years on that trajectory is now going to be whittled down to 5 to 7 years. Because when people start tasting true freedom, and they've been in bondage and they are tasting true freedom, Christianity is all about freedom. freedom of the soul, freedom of the spirit, freedom from sin, wickedness, bondage, freedom from those things. So the freedom that's in Christ and the newfound freedom that they are experiencing in the natural are going to merge together, and Christianity, true born again, spirit-filled Christianity is going to explode in a good way in Iran. So you watch that. That's my prophetic statement, my prophetic vision for Iran. And again, I want to talk a little bit about Iran, but I want to read some of this. This is an article. Where did I get? Oh, from the Daily Wire. And this was published 3 days ago, April 13th, 2026. And it's written by a gentleman, Hank Berian. I believe that's how you would say his name, Hank Berian. And the title says this: if you can't root for the U.S. against Iran, that's talking about the regime, not the people, against Iran, what exactly are you rooting for? So if you can't root for the U.S. in regards to Iran and what's going on, what exactly are you rooting for? Now, this caught my attention because what I've been seeing is a lot of Americans protesting what we're doing in Iran. A lot of Americans protesting what we're doing in Iran. And a lot of, even other nations are protesting what we're doing in Iran. And to me, it's ridiculous. We are setting a people free that haven't tasted freedom since 1978. The regime has been murderous, torturing them, murdering them, imprisoning them, and even mowed down at least bare minimum of about 30,000 of their own citizens just before the bombing started. And then there's Americans that say, oh, we shouldn't be there. We can't do this. This is wrong. Oh, my gosh, this is so wrong. The Iranian people, who do you think you are? And so what's happened with the people there? When the bombs started falling, the citizens, the average day Joe on the streets, they started dancing in the streets, waving flags and saying, thank you, Netanyahu. Thank you, Israel, because Israel, Netanyahu is bombing as well. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, the United States of America, for setting us free. And then when what's the Ayatollah? I think his Ayatollah, whatever his name was, the head, as they call him, the supreme leader of Iran. He, poor guy. He was walking down the stairs and he slipped and fell on a bomb, and blew up. And the Iranian people, when they heard that their supreme leader was pushing up some daisies, they rejoiced, they shouted, they clapped, they danced, they waved flags, and they were screaming, thank you. Can you imagine in the Middle East, Iranians that were under strict Muslim rule? Okay, think about this for just a moment. This is what's going on with the Iranian people in Iran under strict Muslim rule. When the bombs started falling from Israeli aircraft, what did they do? They waved the Israeli flag and said, thank you, Netanyahu. Thank you, Israel. Now, I'm not saying that all these people were Muslims themselves, but they were under strict and heavy Islamic rule. And these people that were under Islamic rule, when their supreme leader supremely bit the dust, they were saying, thank you, Israel. Have you ever seen a Muslim, people from a Muslim country, again, I'm not saying they're all Muslim, but from a Muslim country, ever say thank you to Israel or to the United States of America? That just proves the suffering that went on. That just proves and shows the bondage that they were in, that they were so willing to say thank you to the Jewish people, who, again, the Iranian leaders, the supreme leader, used to call, and I think they still, many of the hardcore Islamists still do, call the United States of America the great Satan and Israel the little Satan. They wanted to blow Israel off the map. The whole reason why we started dropping bombs is because the Iranian regime, I really want to make that distinction, not the people on the ground, not the civilians, not the citizens. They're good people. But the regime, the supreme leader and his henchmen, his minions, I don't even want to say that because I like the minions, those little yellow guys. So his henchmen, his evil henchmen, they call, they're after nuclear weapons. They're building or have at least some ballistic missiles that can deliver those nuclear weapons to Israel, and as far as some places in Europe, as far as Europe, and they are still working on getting one to reach us in the United States of America. And then we have some Americans that are going, why did we do it? We have no right to do that. It's an illegal war. Ladies and gentlemen, let me explain something to you. Let me just put it more closer to home. Let me tell you what I would do in a situation that's kind of similar. Let's assume that in front of my house on the sidewalk, okay, somebody's walking up and down screaming that you, Robert Enos, are the great Satan. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill your family. I'm going to kill your wife. I'm going to kill your kids. I'm going to kill your little dog. I just need a gun. I just need a weapon. But the moment I get a weapon, the moment I get a gun, I'm shooting you all dead. Okay? And this person is actively working on purchasing, buying, stealing, borrowing, whatever, a weapon to kill me and my family. It's just a matter of time. But he's making his statement. He's making what he's going to do very well known. I'm going to kill you all. Once I get that 9mm, that 45, that, that 30-06, that 22, whatever I get, I'm going to use it to put you down, to kill your wife, to kill your kids, to kill your little dog. I'm going to use it. Standing on the sidewalk, pacing up in front, back, up and down, telling the world, I'm going to kill these people in here the moment I get a gun. Okay? What do you think anybody would do in those situations? Any normal, level-headed person. They would do everything in their power to remove that person and incapacitate them so that they couldn't do that. Because it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time before they are able to purchase, borrow, steal, whatever, a weapon that could kill you. So what would a normal human being do in a situation like that? Well, first of all, you call the cops. The cops, come and assess the situation. They look at it and they go, hey, man, there's not much we could do. He's not actually doing anything. He's just saying it. Making these threats, President Trump and Netanyahu kept going to NATO and to the world saying, listen, Iran's a problem. And not just for Israel, not just for the United States, for all of us, because they're crazy, they're wicked, they're evil. What do you think? What makes you think that they're going to only stop, build one bomb and take out Israel, or maybe build a second bomb and try to destroy United States of America? We know that they would not have stopped at that. These are wicked, wicked people. So again, what was Israel supposed to do? What was President Trump supposed to do? What would you do if somebody continued to threaten your family? And okay, let's take it a step further, because this is something that kind of happened in this sense. What if you tell the police, hey, police, this guy keeps threatening me. I mean, he's giving me some terrorist threats. He's going to kill me. He's going to kill my wife. He's going to kill my family, kill my little dog. What are you going to do? So he goes over there. The police goes over there to talk to this guy. And as they knock on the door, the guy opens his door and they look in the background, and maybe they don't see a completely fully assembled AK-47, but there's certainly parts on the table, and some of it is put together. It's not all there yet, but it's about, let's say, 50%. Actually, let's go to 60%, because that's the uranium enrichment percentage that Iran had, was 60% enrichment, and I believe they needed like 80%, or maybe I have it wrong, but it was like that. They're almost there. They are almost there. They had missiles to at least deliver it to Israel and could get it as far as Europe. So the cop still says, well, it's not illegal to have a gun. So, be careful. But we can't do anything about it. And you hear, wait, this guy's building an AK-47. He's already threatened over and over and over again to, once he gets a working weapon, he's going to come and kill me, my wife, and my family. What am I going to do? At that point, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to think in that type of situation that the head of that household, in my household, that would be me, would do something to neutralize that threat once and for all. I'm not advocating violence, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not advocating violence. I'm not saying grab your guns and you storm his house. That's not what I'm saying. But you make sure that if that dude comes running up to your house with a fully assembled AK-47, that you can certainly stop that threat. That's kind of the position that Netanyahu was in. That was the position that Netanyahu was put in for Israel. That was the position that President Trump was put in for the United States of America. And honestly, that was the position that all of Europe and anywhere close to Iran, relatively close, was in. And only Netanyahu and only President Trump had the courage to stand up to those demoniacs in Iran. So, hey, I'm all for it. Not because I'm a warmonger, not because I love the killing and the destruction. I don't. I hate that, actually, to be honest with you. But what I like is being able to go to bed at night knowing that no nukes are going to hit my house before morning. And I'm sure that Israeli people feel the same way. And then again, so given all of that, given that little scenario, given the truth, and we should all know at least enough of the truth to understand that this was not an illegal war, but this was very much needed to wipe that kind of wickedness and evil off the planet. So people are sleeping better tonight, even in Iran. Now, do they have to worry about a stray bomb coming? Absolutely. It's not perfect. War is never perfect. But at least they don't have to worry about their own regime mowing them. When I say mowing them down, go look up some of those videos. There was a video of the Iranian people having a protest, right? Just a protest, peaceful protest. No cars were burning, no buildings were looted or burning. This wasn't a BLM or an Antifa. This was the Iranian people saying thank you for the freedom, and we want freedom from the Iranian regime, and thank you, United States of America, thank you for Israel for starting to stand up for us. And what did the regime do? They jumped in these little armored vehicles. When I say little, it was like a big pickup truck kind of a thing. Jumped in these armored vehicles and started driving over the Iranian protesters, their own people. And then there's people here in America, oh, yeah, we shouldn't do that. No, we don't have any right for it. What did they do to us? Anyways, ladies and gentlemen. So with that, I want to read this. Again, this is by Hank Barian from the Daily Wire from April 13th, so just 3 days ago. It says, New York Times columnist Thomas Friedman appeared on CNN this past Saturday to offer a master class in the paralyzing pathology of the modern left. He is so consumed by his visceral hatred for Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu that he is torn over whether he actually wants to see a genocidal, terror-sponsoring regime in Iran defeated. Let me stop right there. So this Thomas Friedman and other, people with, really brain dead. I was thinking that, but I wasn't sure I wanted to say that because I'm trying to be like a nice Christian, but I don't know how else to describe it. Brain dead people with no real conscience, people that have such a deep hatred, in this case for Donald Trump, maybe Bibi Netanyahu, the Israeli people, and really what America is supposed to be, and true Americans. They hate true America, that they would much rather see, I believe this article is going to go there, they would much rather see the Iranian regime stay in power than have Donald Trump or Netanyahu, but especially Donald Trump, credited with a great victory. They are that sick. Let a murderous regime stay in power, murdering his own people, threatening the world, sponsoring terrorism against us to the tune of over 1,000 deaths, American deaths, because of Iranian sponsored terrorism and terrorism towards Israel. Okay. They would rather have that guy in power and all that mess going on than give Donald Trump some credit for a victory in Iran, setting people free. It's really sick to me. So Friedman admitted, acknowledging that the regime is terrible for its people in the region, but the enlightened foreign policy dean immediately hit a wall of his own making. The problem is, I really don't want to see Bibi Netanyahu or Donald Trump politically strengthened by this war, because they are two awful human beings. Can you imagine that? Let's assume for just a moment that Trump and Netanyahu are awful human beings, as he says. They're just awful human beings. Okay? Neither of them are ordering armored trucks to drive over their own people. I can walk down the street pretty safe and confident that I'm not going to get run over by an armored truck sent by President Trump. I was just in Israel at the end of February, the last 2 weeks of February, just before the bombs started falling. We were walking the streets, going to the different sites. We were eating in restaurants. We were hanging out with the people. And not once did I see, nor did I fear myself being run over by an armored truck sent by Bibi Netanyahu. But in Iran, that's a real concern, because their regime has proven over and over and over they don't care about killing their own people. Where is this? So for Friedman, the prospect of two democratically elected leaders whom he smeared as alleged crooks and terrible, terrible people achieving a geopolitical victory is apparently a fate worse than the continued survival of the Ayatollahs. The Ayatollahs. He would rather see the Ayatollahs survive and continue their reign of terror, even against their own people, than to give Bibi and the Donald a victory in Iran, or anywhere else for that matter. Unbelievable. The left would rather watch the world burn than allow their political opponents to claim a win. Friedman's obsession with Netanyahu isn't a new development. It's a long documented fixation that frequently veers into derangement. Into derangement. You know, that reminds me, I just posted a podcast a little bit earlier today, and even a video of this on YouTube. You can find Table Flippers, look for the same logo and the same name, and you can see the video of it. But and it's called TDS, and anyways, it has this in his name: TDS, IDS, and JDS. Trump derangement syndrome, Israel derangement syndrome, Jewish derangement syndrome. And I address all of these things because this is something that I'm seeing. The left, for the most part, owns the TDS, the Trump derangement syndrome. But many on the right are embracing TDS because of their Israel derangement syndrome and Jewish derangement syndrome. It's a weird thing to watch, ladies and gentlemen. Because they've embraced the IDS and the JDS, it's tweaking their mind and their ability to think and process that they're embracing TDS as well. It really is a strange thing that we're watching in our world right now. Friedman has been railing against Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for years. Friedman has been railing against Israel. Okay, why does this say this twice? Oh, well. He has denounced the concept of Israel's presence in Judea and Samaria, the so-called West Bank, calling Israel settlements a cancer for the Jewish people. So the Israeli settlements are the cancer for the Jewish people. Anyways, that doesn't even make sense. See, these people, again, when I say brain dead, the elevator don't go to the top. I'm just telling you. After President Trump announced that he was going to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem, Friedman slammed his decision, saying the United States should have demanded concessions from Netanyahu before committing to the move. In 2023, as a historic normalization deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia loomed, Friedman didn't see an opportunity for Middle East stability. Instead, he wrote, ladies and gentlemen, please forgive me. I don't know why, but my screen just went off, and I had to turn it back on. That's ridiculous. I got to fix that. Where was I? In 2023, as a historic normalization deal between Israel and Saudi Arabia loomed, Friedman didn't see an opportunity for Middle East stability. Instead, he wrote a column encouraging the Saudis to snub the deal because he deemed Netanyahu's right-wing government not normal. So I want you to think about this. This to me is treasonous. So there's these deals going down. Trump's in the middle of it. Netanyahu's in the deal. Major international treaties and deals and things moving around. I mean, major things. And this dim-witted Thomas Friedman columnist, the New York Times columnist, has the nerve to try to sway an entire nation to snub what President Trump is doing, what Bibi Netanyahu is doing, and the peace that they're trying to create. Snub them. Forget the peace. Forget things coming together. Forget all of the, all of the geopolitical, high-ranking things that we need to work on. Forget all that. Just snub them. Why? Because I'm a New York Times columnist, Thomas Friedman, and I say so. Who does this guy think he is? I mean, honestly, who does this... Serenity now, ladies and gentlemen. Serenity now. Friedman's rhetoric has often crossed the line from policy critique into personal vilification, as the Algameter pointed out. Algameter? What's an Algameter? Anyways, pointed out. He has previously likened Netanyahu to a dog and an alcoholic, echoing tropes that are deeply offensive in the Middle Eastern context. He famously justified the Obama administration's condescension towards Israel by stating, "Friends don't let friends drive drunk," even while that same administration was busy sending billions in sanction relief to Tehran. As far as I'm concerned, Obama is a traitor, and he needs to pay for that. He sent billions to our enemy in Iran. As a matter of fact, they're pursuing nuclear weapons. They've already built ballistic missiles. Who paid for it? More than likely, we did. Obama gave them our money, gave our enemies our money to build weapons to try to destroy us. We are funding our own, or we had funded our own potential destruction. Thank you, President Trump, for not being an Obama, a traitor. This guy, New York Times columnist Thomas Friedman, in my opinion, this is my opinion, is a traitor. And look what he's doing. He's working for the enemy. He's working for our enemies. He's working for our enemies. Anyways, and calling our allies dogs and alcoholics. Who does this guy think he is? I mean, really, who does he think he is? Friedman represents a pundit class that views the world through a narrow straw of personal grievance. To him, the physics of Middle East peace are a game of tic-tac-toe that only he can solve. Anyway, I mean, a perfect Democrat in that regard. Democrats create problems and then claim to be the only ones that can solve the problem that they already created. So the way this person described this Thomas Friedman is like, yep, he's a real liberal. He's a real Democrat. He's a left leaner. He creates this this problem, this imaginary problem, but only he can figure it out. Only he has the answers to figure out the problems, well, that he created in his own mind. It goes on to say, yet his solution is always the same. Marginalize the conservative leaders he despises, even if it means leaving a vacuum for real monsters to fill. Friedman's loathing for Trump and Netanyahu has become his primary North Star, overriding even the desire to see a murderous regime in Iran brought to his knees. If a victory for the West means a victory for his political enemies, Friedman would apparently rather the West didn't win at all. You know, and I've been seeing that with a lot of people, unfortunately, in America. They have such TDS, Trump derangement syndrome, Israeli derangement syndrome, Jewish derangement syndrome. They're so twisted in their minds, so twisted in their thinking and in their minds that they would rather see America fail in this war and fail in the Middle East than give a victory to them. So, in other words, they would rather see the Ayatollahs that are murdering tens of thousands of their own people. They'd rather see those Ayatollahs, those regime leaders, those wicked, evil Islamic leaders survive and still be in power and still be doing what they're doing, just so we don't have to give Trump or Netanyahu a thumbs up, say, great job in what you did. They don't want us to have a victory. They don't want Israel to have a victory. That is traitorous, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to me. I've, been around since Clinton, Obama, of course, Biden, and I disagreed with probably 99% of all of them, all of their policies, everything they did. But one thing I couldn't say I agree with in this sense. If they ever went to war and it was justified, not like Clinton blowing up an aspirin factory. Look it up, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, if it was something justified, I don't care who the president is. I don't care who's in charge. I don't care how much I agree or disagree with them. I'm going to stand because I do not want our America to fail. I do not want our American military to fail, because you know what that means? More loss of American lives. I hate war. I hate these conflicts. But if we're going to get involved in them, let's win. Let's put an end to the conflict by putting an end to those who would rob us of peace or threaten us as a country. I kind of like the idea that all these Ayatollahs and the regime that was wanting to kill you and wanting to kill me, well, is no longer around to do that. I kind of like that they're no longer around to try to harm us. And I say the same thing about Israel. I'm kind of glad that they're no longer around to harm Israel. Now, see, here's the take. Now here's something we all have to forget Thomas Friedman for just a moment. Forget, and I hate to say it like this, but just to make a point, forget Trump, what he's doing for just a moment. Forget Netanyahu and what he's doing for just a moment. And let's just look at the situation. Okay, bombs started falling on Iran and taking out the regime and their military might so that they can't fight back. And there's a whole group of people that are extremely, extremely happy. There's people that are very upset about it, angry at it. Those are not normal, healthy people. The elevator doesn't quite go up to the top. Those are wicked, hard-hearted people. But there's another group of people that are extremely happy, to the point that they are singing, dancing, chanting, waving flags, and saying thank you to the United States of America and thank you to Israel. More specifically, President Trump and Netanyahu. Thank you for taking out this wicked regime. Do you know who these people are? I'll give you a moment to think about it. Okay, moment's up. It's the Iranian people. So let me read this. Now, this is actually from February 28 of this year, 2026, by Bree Stimson. And this is Fox News, but, I know some people hate Fox News. Okay, whatever. But you'll see this on many, not all, many news networks. The ones that didn't post this is because they hate Trump more than they want freedom to come to these people. But let me read this. It says, Iranians celebrate worldwide And this happened worldwide. You guys know this. If you've watched the news, picked up a newspaper, scroll online and look at different things, you've seen this, you've come across this, you know this. Iranians celebrate worldwide after supreme leader is killed in Israeli strikes. Videos showed people across Iran and all over the world honking horns, cheering, and waving flags as news of Ayatollah's death spreads. The Iranian people on the ground, their citizens, the common folks, they are excited, they're happy, and they're rejoicing. They're throwing a party. Let me read some of this. This is not a very big article, but I just want to make a point. Iranians across the country could be seen and heard celebrating the death of Supreme Leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei. Khamenei. So it sounds like I don't know, a dish or a food thing. Anyways, after coordinated Israeli strikes overnight. In one video, Iranians near Karaj, hopefully I'm saying this right, Karaj, Iran, outside the capital of Tehran, took to the streets, honked their horns, and cheered. In social media videos, Iranians in Tehran cheered from their apartments, playing loud music and setting off fireworks as the news spread. In Ladshar, I'm assuming that's a city, ladies and gentlemen. People packed the streets, waving their arms in the air, whistling, honking, and cheering over the news. In Borazjan, Iran, celebrants chanted, and in Mamasani, they waved flags and danced. People celebrated in Madrid, Spain. Now remember, Spain just went. Spain. I'm so disappointed with the people of, or I'm not going to say the people of Spain because I don't know, but the leaders of Spain. They're basically standing up for the wickedness of the Iranian regime and the wickedness of Islamization. Angry at President Trump, wouldn't step in on any level, wouldn't help, and been kind of nasty. So. But the Iranian people that live in Spain, says people celebrate in Madrid, Spain. People also celebrated in the Iranian cities of Shiraz and Abadan, where the people are out on the streets till the wee hours of the night in celebration of an Iran that is on the brink of finding its freedom after almost 5 decades, according to Lisa Daftari, editor of the Foreign Desk. Iranian people also cheered the news in other parts of the world, such as Madrid, London, Berlin, Armenia, and the United States. Even here in the United States, in LA, Los Angeles, more down into the city, there was marches and not protests, cheering. They were having a giant party to basically say thank you for setting my brothers and sisters in Iran, for setting them free. People celebrated the death of Khomeini on Saturday in Berlin. Iranian people all over the world, from Los Angeles to Tehran, are on the streets celebrating in sheer jubilation over the dawn of a new and free Iran, Daftari told Fox News Digital. Iranians poured onto the streets, cheering, clapping, waving the lion and sun flag, dancing openly and singing the old national anthem. It's hard to imagine a people so starved for freedom, so desperate for justice, that they are cheering military strikes on their own soil. That's how bad it was, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to think about that. That's how bad this regime was. That's how bad life was for the Iranian people, that they were afraid of their own leaders in their own country, that now they're excited, dancing, celebrating, and cheering the bombing of their own country, because they know it's not after them, the citizens, it's not after us, the common folks, it's after that wicked regime. Thank you, President Trump. Thank you, Netanyahu. Thank you, United States of America. Thank you, Israel, because we are now tasting freedom for the first time in 50 years, close to it, almost 50 years. So they are cheering military strikes on their own soil as the price of liberation. And this is what I would, here's a picture. Maybe I'll try to put it up there. But an older gentleman, I'm assuming an Iranian gentleman with a red hat that says, "Make Iran Great Again." MIGA. That's MIGA. MIGA. Make Iran great again. And guess what? With the help of Netanyahu and the Jewish people, the help of Trump and the American people, Iran is going to be free again. And it's going to become more and more and more a Christian nation. It's going to help right there in the heart of the Middle East push back the Islamization of not just Iran, but that whole entire region. And it's going to have ramifications. So I don't understand. I don't understand when the Iranian people say thank you for taking out this wicked regime leader. Thank you for setting us free. We are now truly free, and the parades and the celebration is worldwide and still going on at times. How is it that Americans, how is it that Thomas Friedman, how is it that the Spanish president and his cabinet are so against the people of Iran being free? Really, honestly, how could you? I try to think, is there something else going on? Is there something on the back end of this? But I can't think of anything. And like I said, even if this was Obama, if this was Clinton, if this was Joe Biden, none of them had the backbone to do anything like this. No, none of them. They just did not have the spine for it. But if they did, I would have been saying, finally, something I can agree on. Finally, they did something right. Finally, they did something that wasn't traitorous. So President Trump stands up and fights back. And I'm seeing people who claim, I see this online and such, claim to be, military people. I see people, coming against our own military, coming against the commander-in-chief, saying that what he's doing is wrong, what he's doing is bad, what he's doing is illegal. And I'm just sitting back going, what's wrong with these people? Honestly, what's wrong with these people? What's wrong with Americans? Have we forgotten? Have we really, honestly, as an American, have we forgotten what freedom really is? And what bondage to a wicked regime really is? Because let's face it, if you're born and raised in America, you don't know. You have no clue what these people are going through. Because we live in the freest nation on the planet. And, it's not even what it used to be 250 years ago, 100 years ago. But we still live in a country that has a lot of freedom that the Iranian people don't have. We sometimes forget, so that when we go in there to try to help another people group become free like us, oh no, you can't do that. Almost like it's not so bad. I don't know, having a supreme leader, the Ayatollah, ordering that his own citizens be run over by these trucks, these armored trucks. Yeah, that's not so bad. Why are we doing that? That's not so bad. Why are we fighting for that? Oh, well, they want to build nuclear weapons and blow us off the map. Oh, that's not so bad. That's not so bad. Come on. What's so bad about that? Americans, in which I say maybe they're American by birth, but they're certainly not American in heart, because a true American would never be there. What do we do as an American? Well, I don't want to get into that because I've already spoke. Maybe I'll do another one and talk about my opinions about what a true American is. True American maybe begins with being born here, but that's not the end. True Americans have something else in them. One reason why I'm against not immigration. I'm not against immigration. I'm against illegal immigration. And I'm against people coming here and not assimilating into who we are as a people, as Americans. Because they lack in something. They lack in that, that ability or the desire to stand up for what America is all about. And it seems to me like these Iranians who are rejoicing and thanking President Trump, thanking the U.S. military, thanking Bibi Netanyahu, thanking the Israeli military, they are more Americans than many that were born here. Just telling you the truth, because of not where they were born, but what's really in their own heart. They have a greater love for this American ideal than many that were born here. I don't understand it. It's baffling to me. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to bring that out and tell you what's going on, share with you what's going on, give you some of my opinions on it, and you'll find that my opinions are not really opinions. They're right. Anyway, so God bless you all. I hope to see you all very soon. As I have been saying, Table Flippers podcast is an outreach of Greater Works Christian Church right here in beautiful Lancaster, California. Come and visit us sometime. God bless you all.